Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here between this time and lunch. I am Feliz Bahmanpour. I head up media and entertainment for Talent, which is an engineering partner to many big major media companies. And most recently, in the last few years, we've been heavily leaning into AI powered engineering and leading in that space. So we're excited today to show you an AI-powered, basically AdOps a solution. But I'll let Olaf introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Olaf. I'm head of AI consulting in Tavant.
Fantastic. So I will forward to my deck here. As I mentioned, we've been working on, together with AWS, partnering with AWS on the AWS infrastructure and a solution to address manual workflows in the AdOps space, and primarily reimagining ad operations with Gen AI-powered tools, from workflow automation to autonomous revenue optimization. So, I mean, I'm guessing that, the audience here is familiar with AdOps, but just to sort of frame it, once the inventory is sold and the outcomes for the advertising campaign is established, the AdOps is responsible for setting up the campaign, making sure that it's executed per the agreements, and during the activation process, just making sure that, it's pacing accordingly and the outcomes are as expected, progressing. And finally, basically, financial reconciliation is the process where booked versus delivered is basically reconciled and the billing occurs. The challenge here is, as the ecosystem is getting more fragmented between, distribution channels, CTV, linear, and broadcast, the ecosystem is super complex. Although some of these basically areas might have dashboards, the outcome of sort of, looking across and gathering intelligence across this ecosystem is pretty hard. So our goal is to sort of bring an intelligence layer on top to provide an agentic solution with Gen AI interface to be able to automate these workflows and provide full visibility across campaign lifecycle. So why does this matter, right? It's not just operational sort of efficiencies, but it's really basically it's business impacting. Missed pacing means that lost revenue, lack of visibility across lifecycle means that delayed decisions, and the gaps in reconciliation means revenue leakage. And there's 2 to 5% sort of direct revenue impact across many examples. I'll hand over.
So a natural idea would be like, take all those fragmented systems, replace them by one big system, put all the data in there. Unfortunately, that is not how reality works, right? Because you have those systems, everybody works with those systems. And so the solution that we devised is actually, is basically an agentic glue, right? It combines and takes data from those systems. And that's exactly what agents are good at, and comes back with like agentic or an LLM answer to the questions and the actions that it can take for solving your AdOps challenges. Now, the way you interact with a system like that is it's like a chat interface, right? It's a natural way to ask questions to a system. And we're going to demo this today so you can actually see how it works. The key is that across those systems, an agent pulls data from the one, looks what is needed, goes to the next system, asks questions there based on the insights it got from the first, and comes back with a very concrete insight or a proposed action. We developed 3 agents across the complete AdOps lifecycle. The first one is a campaign setup assistant. It helps you understand, like, what are the artifacts that are there? Are they ready? What are the ads in the inventory? And these kind of questions. For the delivery and pacing monitor, we're looking at where is the campaign at, and is it already at the level that we proposed for it to be at? And if it's not, what do you propose as actions for make good? And the revenue reconciliation looks at basically how do you ensure that what was offered is being paid, and made sure that the complete financial part is in agreement to the contract. Now, once you make this really work, and we have implemented parts of this for a number of clients, the results are frankly very, very encouraging. We see that you see the numbers here, but just to give you a quick story, like normally an ad manager would go to an analyst, ask an analyst to prepare a certain report. The analyst goes into a system, creates a report that goes back in a day or two, and then the ad manager looks at that, so like, well, this is almost what I want, but not quite. Can you give me an update, right? And I see people nodding in the audience, right? This is indeed how we do it. Wouldn't it be lovely if you have an agent that you can, as ad manager, directly ask that question? It goes into those systems and gives you the answer back, including a report with the relevant graphs and whatnot. So, of course, today that is impossible because it basically requires someone like an ad manager to be deep into technical systems and speak SQL and whatnot. This is exactly what the agent handles for you. So we're going to show you the demo now. On the right side, you'll see communication happening between the agent and the backend systems. Normally, this is, of course, not visible for a user, but here you see two things happening. One is it is actually using your data, right? It's pulling your data using SQL statements and whatnot, and not just a generic ChatGPT interface. And the second thing is there's a loop going on. So rather than a one-shot answer, you literally see the agent getting into the data, look at the data, understand it, and then ask the next questions to the data. So you get a complete overview of a complete answer to your question.
So I'll show you the demos in two parts. One is the agentic chat interface, and also in the background there are a couple agentic applications orchestrated. So two of those are pacing and financial reconciliation. So the first chat interface will start, and of course the first one is about campaign setup, making sure the campaign is ready to fly. Including flight dates, target audience, the creatives are ready. So typically, basically, the questions that AdOps would get is like, what are the campaigns starting, right? It's basically a way to prioritize and making sure that those campaigns are ready to go. So we have this agentic interface, Anthropic, we're using here, and, some of the canned questions. You can pick one, or basically freeform. There's a prompt window that you can type in directly. I mean, you can imagine that this could be even voice activated sometime in the future, right? So the possibilities are endless. Essentially for observability and transparency purposes, we basically continue to keep that SQL that is translated from NLP. But essentially the structure is that, the AI is analyzing the trends, and looking at basically what's coming up in the next 7 days, and talking about like things like, what are the biggest advertisers, how many campaigns, what are the priorities, are the flight dates are synchronized, and then most importantly suggest the next steps, right? Whether that's pre-checklist, vast tag validation, creative approvals, so on and so forth. It can basically create a chart, and also it can basically, link to the creating a ticket or scheduling a meeting, that type of, actions that you can take directly from here. Similar structure is followed in the next agents. Again, we're just showing you the chat interface right now. So here, basically, the examples could be during the activation, right? When the campaign is already activated. How am I doing in terms of the pacing? So, for example, here, again, these are categorized here for you already by the LLM. It could be status-based questions. It could be, just more about general analytics or problem detection. But we'll pick a question. Let's say, what are the campaigns that started in the last 3 days and how are they pacing, right? Very, very typical question that AdOps might want to answer. Of course, the benefit of the system here is that it's not after the fact, but proactively during, the early phases of the campaign, you're able to get real-time information and be able to, act upon that. So same structure here. Again, this could be customized to your liking, but currently, basically, again, we're analyzing, AI is analyzing what's happening, what are the campaigns started with, advertiser, flight dates, and how many days has it been activated, budget information, impressions, some key information, basically. And then similarly, it's going to identify some key patterns here. It's saying that, there is a launch gap, but I just found, the campaigns that have started in the last 3 days. Here's what I recommend, maybe some frequency capping, maybe some, budget, maybe some activation around the audience. I'm skipping fairly quickly here because I'm going to go back and show you how adjustments can be made. We're just looking at the chat interface at the moment. So similarly, financial reconciliation, the financial analysts can basically ask various types of questions here. Of course, the most obvious ones are like, what did I not invoice yet, right? Like, what are the due invoices? Which ones basically sort of there's a gap between booked and billed, so that I can prioritize those types of questions. I'll let this one sort of complete before I move on to really where you can take action against both financial reconciliation as well as pacing. So we're starting from a dashboard here. Some key information by advertiser, essentially, just what is the booked versus delivered and some revenue risk and some key basically indicators. This dashboard also can be customized to your operational needs. Essentially, the goal here is to come from a operational dashboard and launch into the specifics of an advertiser to their campaigns and go to a line item level. Let's say here we pick an advertiser. In this case, basically, we pick this one, and there's, I'll show a couple examples. The first example, probably we see already by status a green here, which is ready to invoice, a direct deal. We'll go into that in a moment here. So again, this is summary level information, some key columns. Okay, here's our agentic analyzer, and we just activated on the right-hand side in front of us at our fingertips some key information. We're seeing here that this particular campaign is pretty close, target impressions versus delivered. That's why it's ready to invoice. But the AI has already basically said, my recommendation is to accept billing for this. And the rationale is pretty straightforward case. It's close to what you promised to deliver. And you can go ahead and basically bill this one. I'll show you in a bit another example where, where you can also train the model as you're executing on taking action on some of these examples. We're running, again, in this particular case, there is, as you can see on the right-hand side in the green box here, there's a 3.80% gap between booked versus delivered, while in general, basically that's within the threshold of 5%, which can be identified and determined by your own playbooks. It's saying that, suggestion is to make good. So it could be related to the advertising agreement. It could be some judgment call, but ultimately, basically what we're saying here is you have an opportunity to override and train the model as you're executing on your operational, goals here. Yeah, you can escalate, you can accept, or you can adjust to train the system over time. So I'll show one more example before I go into similarly, basically, this is again about financial reconciliation and billing. The last example here again will activate this particular campaign. This is as opposed to the direct campaigns. Now we're dealing with a programmatic campaign. Again, in the background, these are all integrated into your OMSs, ad servers, and in the programmatic case, SSPs and DSPs and your financial systems or internal systems. So here we have basically an open auction deal. So in this case, there's no guarantee. So it's saying go ahead and accept and bill. We'll just give it a moment before. So for pacing, we're actually working on a pretty sophisticated dashboard currently for pacing particularly. But for the demo purposes, I'll use the same dashboard here. Ultimately, basically from dashboard, we're going to go into, again, an advertiser, a campaign, and a line item level to adjust the pacing. In a moment, this is the campaign level from the advertiser, some key information before I pick and go into a particular campaign. So let's say in this case, open auction deal. Now I'm at a line item level. So I'll pick one example here and run the pacing agent. Again, this could be automated, of course, if you want it fully automated, and we're going step by step here. This is still basically human in the loop. We'll let it run. This is, by the way, it's a sample data. It's not, for the demo purposes, it's a synthetically created sample data, but it reflects the structure of each of these systems. So it's close to accurate, I would say, from a taxonomy and structure perspective. So here, basically, like when you pace a campaign, of course, it could be basically various reasons. But in this particular example, it's telling me that, see if I can see this. It's critical. We're in the day 2 of the 37-day campaigns. And, so the first tab is diagnostics of the AI. It's telling me that it's critical, and it gives me some impression, like a snapshot here. Sounds like there is some sort of system blocker between OMS and ad server synchronization that needs to happen. And it's talking about auction level. Perhaps the CPM needs to be raised from $7 to $10. And inventory supply chain, it doesn't see a problem there. And then targeting and some suggestions around targeting as well, maybe loosen the target market a little bit to expand. And again, this is all the diagnostics information you can get from the AI. And the second tab is immediate action plan that it's suggesting that you can take it, you can override it. Again, human in the loop constantly and ongoing training of the model as we operate. So here, basically, again, priority items, resolve the system mismatch immediately. Luckily, we're in the day 2, not after the fact that campaign is over. So we have this option to, immediately adjust, as opposed to an AdOps person constantly pulling information and trying to troubleshoot manually, which is not very scalable in today's, advertising environment. And again, the price suggestion here to raise the CPM dollar. And maybe budget-related adjustments. Targeting, as we talked about, it's saying that you can expand the day part, as well as the loosen up the audience targeting. That's pretty much basically what I wanted to show you in the interest of time. This is, again, we're partnering with AWS to build this framework. It is an accelerator. We don't sell it. It's not a SaaS product. We basically are in the business of service. So we take this infrastructure and framework and build it in your own environment. And yeah, that's it for us, but I'll let Olaf to close it for us.
Thank you. We're happy to continue the discussion. Can we display this, our booth number? Fantastic. Look, we are most happy to look at how we can connect this to your systems, create a personalized demo, and see how we can move the discussion forward. Thank you.